everybody. This is me, Amin.
And this Alex.
And welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About. And in this episode, we're gonna shift gears and move back into technology.
Finally.
Not so much with regards to COVID because there's no new latest, not new latest, but I think there's no significant updates that require discussion when it comes to the COVID situation currently. Today is the 24th of June, 2021. This is the day we're doing recording. So whatever that we're talking about has happened before. So if this, and usually this show goes out a week after recording. So if anything new that comes up with regards to COVID that we didn't cover, is because, we just have that gap. Okay, so we're back to telco. Telco pula. We're back to technology, and in this episode, we're going to talk about telcos. Specifically, telcos in Malaysia. Do we have enough, or do we have too little? Okay, so why did that question come about? Why are we talking about telcos today?
Because, if we see the current landscape right now, we have actually a lot of telcos with license right now. I think there's at least 5 or 6 out there with licenses, and if you compare with other countries, they only have like 3 competitors or 4 in the market. But in Malaysia, if you look at the landscape, we have a lot of players, and yet you hear people saying that we should get more foreign players to join into the landscape, provide more services, and that will improve the internet experience for everyone. But is it really true that having more telcos improve the experience? That's something we want to talk about this week.
Okay, I think the other impetus of the discussion was, I think a couple of days ago, there was a report on, of course, searchinchart.com. The Minister of Communication, Datuk Saifuddin, he issued a ministerial order. Was it an order?
Yep.
Do I call it an order?
Ministry order.
Okay, an order that allocated a chunk of spectrum to a particular telco.
Yep.
So can you fill us in what that news was?
Yeah, so a couple of weeks ago, there's this ministerial order that's spotted on MCMC's website. So basically, the minister instructed the MCMC to basically facilitate the award or to work towards giving the spectrum to Altel Communications. So Altel Communication has been around, and they've also gotten spectrum for the 2,600 megahertz.
Okay.
And the thing about Altel is that they don't actually build the network.
Yep.
So if you've seen like the 2,600 megahertz, what they did was they leased the spectrum to other telcos, like Mexican DG and Celcom.
Okay. Altel. So they've gotten like another chunk of spectrum.
Yep.
And what is the significance of this spectrum?
So previously they already got 2,600 megahertz, so that's good for 4G, and that's a higher band, so they can provide higher speeds. So with 900 megahertz, it's actually better for penetration. It's a good balance because you have better coverage, better penetration against walls, and it's pretty valuable because that's the same amount of spectrum that's allocated to U-Mobile and DG.
Okay, so Altel is, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know about you guys, viewers and listeners out there, I don't know about you guys, but as far as I'm concerned, Altel is a telco that doesn't exist. So you see the branding, you see the products, I guess somewhere in like super rural areas, but you see very little marketing, you see very little additional promotion, you see very little presence of Altel. So if you don't know, the owner of Altel is Syed Al-Bukhari, right?
Syed Mukhtar.
Syed Mukhtar, which is one of the well-heeled and well-connected people, the top 1% in Malaysia. And there's been a lot of questions like, okay, how come this person gets a license to operate a telco company, telecommunications company, and yet is not penalized for not really fulfilling whatever that is required, the minimum requirement for you to be a telco. Okay, I guess I'm sidetracking a bit. Okay, so if you look at South Korea, I don't recall what the population is, slipped my mind, but I think they have like maybe 5-6 times more people in South Korea than in Malaysia.
50 million.
50 million, okay. So what's that?
Almost double. Almost double Malaysia's population.
Yeah, almost double of Malaysia's population. Yet there's only 4 telcos in South Korea. If I'm not mistaken, 4 less than 4 or maybe 2 or 3, I can't remember. But it's much less than in Malaysia. Then if you look at Malaysia, we have Maxis, Celcom, DG, U-Mobile,
You also have TM, YTL,
Unify,
Redtone,
yes, YTL.
Redtone, Altel, and also Asia Space, who still have spectrum.
So we have almost 10.
Yeah.
Serving a population that's 30 million. I think you don't need to be a scientist to do the maths to know that we are in a very saturated market. Mobile phone ownership or mobile phone subscription has already passed 100%. That means there are a number of people out there that own more than one line on average. Yet, we are not seeing significant innovation. We're not seeing significant improvements in product offerings. We're not seeing significant improvements in products in services. Like, we're not seeing speeds going up. Yeah, we do see speeds go up gradually. We're not seeing prices go down. We see prices kind of like being stagnant, but we see a trend also that operators are just on a monthly or quarterly basis changing plans regularly. So changing plans and changing it to different names, changing this and that. Because it's not about providing the best service and the best value to you or to us as the customer. It's for me, how they operate is they're looking at their quarterly or monthly reports, and they're saying, okay, for this quarter, I got to report to my shareholders and my board, and I got to report an increase in numbers. And for me to report the increase in numbers is either I run a recruitment drive, run like a crazy, unbeatable plan that undercuts the market and get everybody to switch, because we have now what's that thing called? MNO, right? Mobile number portability. We can switch from any and whichever telco, and that's a good thing for us. But what I'm saying is, the benefits that you feel is, okay, this is a good plan because it's unlimited lah, whatever, right? It's not driven by the need to drive, or it's not driven by the need to serve the customer. It's driven by the need to, okay, I got to report to my shareholders that I have an increase in numbers.
Yep.
And that's what's happening right now. So what do you guys think? Do we have more telcos? Can we survive with just... Okay, obviously we can't survive with just one, because then that's just a monopoly.
Yep.
Can we survive with 2 or 3? I mean, we can't have 2 because then that's a duopoly. So I guess 3 or 4?
Okay, let's look at the broader picture. Like, if you look at most countries, like look at China, they have like over a billion people. They only have 3 telcos at the moment. Even Singapore, a small island, they only have like 3 telcos. I think there's 4.
No, that's too many for the garden
small
state.
countries. Yeah, but the thing is but here's the impact. What's the repercussions of having too much telco? Because number one, spectrum is a finite resource.
Okay.
So ideally, last time there's a research by UITM said ideally a telco should have at least 100 megahertz of spectrum at least to deliver a good 4G performance. And now we have 5G in the picture some more. And if you have too many telcos, which means that the spectrum is going to be shared by so many players. Like at the moment, we have already like 9 telcos. So imagine how much a telco will have in terms of serving the population. And if you don't have enough spectrum, you're going to have like slow speeds, you're going to have like bandwidth issues, even calls will be impacted as well.
Yep.
So that's the reason why we need to find a better use of spectrum, how to optimize it. And like you look at China and all that, South Korea, I think the service are pretty good, it's pretty decent. And because if each telco has a bigger chunk, they can optimize that. They can serve more people.
Yep.
So is the answer of adding more players will improve the situation? I don't think so.
No.
Because if more players come in, then that slice of spectrum is going to be thinner for every single telco, and all of us going to suffer. And some telcos we have so many customers, and some telcos we're sitting on a spectrum and they're not doing anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think the reason why we wanted to talk about this was there was like a lot of talks online and on social media. I said, oh, you know what? For us to make our mobile services or internet better in the country, we need foreign investment. We need
foreign telcos.
We need foreign telcos, like for telcos from China, from Korea, to come and set up shop here so that they can deliver the best services and the best performance. And like Alex mentioned, it's not about whether you have a foreign telco coming to Malaysia, because it's not anything new. We have foreign investments into telcos in the country already. We have DG running, Telenor running DG. We have NTT Docomo and KT Freetel in U-Mobile. So it's not anything new. And we have Axiata. Essentially, Axiata is an international company that's running Celcom. So it's not an issue of whether we need people from the outside to come and improve the situation here in Malaysia, because if they do come in, it's not like they can do any better because they still need to operate on spectrum.
Yep.
And if they don't get the spectrum that they need to optimize the services, then they're still going to be trapped. So my question is, and I don't know whether we can talk about this in the show, Alex. My question is, why is there a telco that's not capable of delivering, or that's not even interested or cannot raise the funds? I don't know why. For whatever reason, why is Altel not really doing its thing as a telco? And the other thing is like, are the current established telcos trapped that they can't do much as well? Okay, before you answer that question, I want to bring another example. So we have another telco, which I can't talk about. Okay, but never mind. Okay, can you answer that question then?
Okay, so basically, like you rightly pointed out, some telcos, they're given the spectrum, but they're not fully using it. Basically, you're not optimizing the telco based on what's required. And I think that's down to enforcement and regulation. Because if you give a spectrum, because spectrum at the end of the day, it belongs to the government gives you the right to operate based on that spectrum. And like for example, in the case of Altel, so what they did was they just lease it out to other telcos to use. It's like, okay, I'm seeing this telco, I just rent it out.
Yep.
It's like easy business.
Yep.
For other telcos, they're committed to build the network, to build infrastructure, to make sure they hit the targets. And I think there was an issue with enforcement. If let's say if the government is really enforcing these laws, right, or this regulation, they should be penalized heavily. Like, hey, I give you this spectrum, you're not making use of it.
Yep.
Either you pay a fine or maybe I'll take it back.
Yes, I think, and that's right, because I remember, I think we had a discussion a long time ago. The
WiMAX, right, last time.
Yes, the spectrum that is allocated to Altel should have been taken away from Altel a long time, many years ago. And does that mean, okay, if it's taken away from Altel, does that mean that it gives room for another telco to operate? No. MCMC could say, okay, we're going to now manage the spectrum better to deliver better performance to our users and generate more revenue for our for the business and industry, because when more money turns around, the consumer benefits if it's distributed properly. So in this case, MCMC could say, okay, I'm going to take away the spectrum from Altel and I'm going to reallocate it to the current telcos that are delivering good performance. That means when they can put like set criteria. Okay, we see Maxis, Celcom, DG, they have healthy subscriber numbers, they have healthy average speeds based on the parameters that we set, and they have very little complaints, or they are handling complaints very well. And because of that, we are rewarding more spectrum to them. Okay, so you had a discussion with MCMC this morning related to this matter, right?
Yeah.
What was that discussion about? What did they talk about?
So the top level is basically like a chat about how spectrum's being allocated. So recently there's this controversy, like you pointed out, about ministerial order to give out spectrum to a certain companies. And we've seen that before with the 700 megas, which eventually pulled back. And a lot of people asking, like, why can't we just do open tender? So what MCMC said that because right now Malaysia's market is so saturated, there's so many telco players, the right move right now is to give like preferential assignment. And that how that's done is based on, like what you mentioned, criteria.
Yep.
If you're a subscriber, if there's a need, then you give it to you. Because if you do open tender, at the end of the day, whoever has the big pockets will set the game. They just buy. I have deep pockets and buy.
Okay.
But now you have to do set targets.
Okay.
So back to the ministerial order. So what MCMC said that when this order came out, it's not 100% awarded yet. It's still a long way to go. You can consider it as like more like an invitation. Like, okay, I invite you to be assigned to this spectrum. And there's a lot of things that needs to be fulfilled.
Okay.
Like number one is that they need to present a business case. And then also the MCMC, we're going to set guidelines. Okay, to get this spectrum, you have to do this. You have to do to certain amount of infrastructure targets. You need to set up how many towers, maybe some coverage targets. And then here's the price for you to get it. Only if they're happy with the price, happy with the targets, then they'll proceed to the next phase to confirm the award of spectrum. So there's still a long way to go.
Okay.
So back to Altel. So I asked them, like, why are they given all that? So I can't remember what's the actual answer, but basically, or what I was told is that right now MCMC want to set things right. So they're against of Alibaba business.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically like, I just get spectrum and just rent to someone else. Just rental.
That's basically what
Easy
Altel is
one.
doing.
Yeah, with the old spectrum. So MCMC says that they want to stop this from happening. So whoever's going to be given spectrum now, we had to ensure that they're committed in building the network. So I got a feeling that maybe this is an opportunity for Altel to be serious in the 4G game. I'm not too sure. From the looks of it, that's the case. So I think what I understand is that MCMC want to nail this down in the agreement. If you're committed to this spectrum, you have to deliver this. I got a feeling that probably last time it wasn't that clear. Last time maybe it's not got number of subscribers or how many people in the network, you can get it.
Okay.
Then there are loopholes they can walk around.
Okay.
And maybe that's the reason why they get away with it. So MCMC want to tighten all these loopholes to ensure that this time they're going to do it right.
Okay. I don't know, Alex. I think you have a very optimistic view, or I don't know, you're just reporting this or what?
I'm just saying as is. So whether it happens or not, that's a different story.
Because I'm freaking skeptical about what's going on, man. Okay, number one, ministerial order allocating a set amount of spectrum to Altel. It's not what you think, because the ministerial order is not an order to like immediately give the spectrum. They have to do some hoops and loops and jumps through all these things and make sure that they fulfill all this stuff. And then from a business proposal.
Yep.
After the business proposal is done, they will and if MCMC is satisfied, they will issue the spectrum to Altel.
Yep.
Okay.
But in the event if Altel rejects it, like, too expensive or this target's too high.
Okay.
They could reject it. So there could be two scenarios. Number one, it could be MCMC could take this spectrum and give it out as open tender. Okay, whoever telcos who wants to get it, then do open tender. Or maybe they don't need to give it at all.
Okay, so for me, this is all sandiwara lah. It's all for show. Because you know why? Number one, has Altel fulfilled their requirements with the existing spectrum? No. Or yes? I say no.
Number one, the biggest question is, what was the targets in the first place?
No, it's easy. All you have to do is look at the license that Altel is operating on. There are a number of operating telco licenses that telcos need to have to operate. So some of them have like the license to broadcast, some of them have the license to provide telecommunication services, whatever. And within that, it will entail, okay, this is what you can do, or what you have to do, or something like that. So I have to admit, I have not done the research fully for this, but I know Altel has those related licenses to operate. And within those licenses to operate, Altel has to deliver certain things. So they have not done that with the 2.6 gigahertz spectrum. So then, what warrants the minister to give a ministerial order to give Altel more spectrum? What is the track record that Altel has that, okay, minister is going to give you attention now, please present your business plan so that we can give you more spectrum? For me, I think the powers that be at Altel is saying, hey, you know what? We need to make more money, and this 900 spectrum is an important spectrum, and our customers, our MVNOs are making noise. Can you give it to us so that we can sell it to them? Because they don't have a track record.
Yep, exactly. And your guess is good amount in terms of what have they done in the past, because number one is I don't know what was the set requirements for Altel back in the day. Maybe there wasn't one. Maybe it's not clear. That's why they can get away with it. So that's what I'm saying. Maybe last time they get away with these loopholes, but now the MCMC said that they're going to set these criteria so that they won't get away with it. That's what they said. I'm not too sure, but by right, this should be done a long time ago, or else people just sitting on spectrum and doing nothing.
Yeah.
And if you look at the subscription numbers, right, based on the stats from MCMC, Altel has only 28.7 thousand subscribers.
28, so less than 30,000 subscribers.
Yes, and they have a chunk of 40 megahertz of spectrum.
Less than 30, and then they have one of the biggest chunk of spectrum in the industry, right?
Not only for the 2.6 gigahertz, but overall they only have 40 megahertz of spectrum. In comparison, if you look at say YTL, they have 60 megahertz, so 50% more spectrum, and YTL has 1.5 million subscribers. So you can see there's an imbalance there.
Yes, 1.5 million subscribers, and they roll out their own infra.
Yes.
Specifically their own infra. YTL, yes, 4G is the only 100% 4G telco in the country.
Yeah.
You don't get 3G, you don't get
2G.
2G on yes. You get 100% 4G.
4G or GG.
And for me, Why not take that 900 and give it to Yes?
Or gives to other telcos.
Because they've proven, okay, again, Yes, to their credit, right? They've proven that they have the capability and the funds. When Yes launched, I can't remember what year, they were the only telco, and I was blown away because I was super skeptical and said, look, you can't do it that way. You can't light up the whole country in one day.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to explain is that usually telcos, they do like sporadic launches, like, okay, I'll cover KL first, Melaka first, but
They
no.
do phases lah. They do like, okay, let's say if I'm a new telco, okay, I'm gonna identify where my
Market
stronghold
centers.
will be. So let's say I don't wanna open in KL. I wanna open in, I don't know, Kelantan and be like the best in Kelantan. Okay, so I'll open up in Kelantan. And then I'll slowly build. So if Kelantan is good, then maybe I'll go to Terengganu or Pahang or whatever, cover the rural areas, be in Sabah or Sarawak and be awesome there. That would be the normal way of how a telco functions. In Yes's case, they said, look, we're going to light up the whole country. We're going to be available in Kuala Lumpur all the way to Penang. And we did the test. And they were awesome where they had coverage. They were fast where they had coverage.
Correction, half the country, because they didn't cover Sabah Sarawak back then.
Sorry. Sabah Sarawak as well, okay?
But it was what was amazing is that they covered the entire North Highway.
And they did that from day one, and they did that while other telcos were operating for longer than they did.
Yeah, and then you use other telcos back then, right? You struggle to get 2G. In most places, the highway, you get like no signal.
Yeah. You couldn't stream. You couldn't listen to Spotify without interruption back then. So, okay, we're coming back to Altel. We're coming back to like whether there's too many telcos in Malaysia. Yes, I think there's too many telcos in Malaysia, and I think I'm not gonna mince words here. I don't think Altel should exist at all, and I think Altel is only existing to feed the coffers of certain people. Altel, prove me wrong. Maybe you can share with me your business plan.
Well,
and then we'll see how it goes from there. I think Maxis, Celcom, DG, U Mobile, Unify, and maybe to an extent, Yes 4G. I think these telcos are enough, and they are already fulfilling the customers' needs. If you ask me, the telcos that are struggling right now is probably Unify Mobile and Yes 4G. I think Unify is struggling more than Yes 4G. Unify has less network than Yes 4G.
Less spectrum as well.
Yet they're still trying. They're still rolling out. They're still trying to get subscribers. They're promoting and they're marketing. I don't see Altel doing that. Okay, there's another question with regards to like Celcom and DG merging.
Yep.
What's going to happen, right? Is it going to be like a super telco that's going to eliminate all the other telcos? My outlook is this. I think the reason why the merger is happening is Telenor wants out. I think Telenor doesn't want to be. It's not to say doesn't want to be involved, but doesn't want to be significantly involved in the telco market in Malaysia. Maybe because it's not stable. Maybe because regulators are not setting the rules that make foreign investment preferable in Malaysia. Maybe MCMC should need to look into all those things. But MCMC, I guess, MCMC and the Securities Commission, MCMC is not involved in the merger, but the Securities Commission has said that they are okay to go through. I think they are, crossing the T's and putting the dots on the I's to make the merger happen. Is it going to be a super telco? I don't think so, because the competition has not changed. The rules of engagement has not changed. People can still jump ship. They can still change telcos whenever they feel like. What are the benefits? Well, the benefit is like what we've been talking about, right? Spectrum is now allocated properly. Automatically, DG and Celcom can now work together and optimize their network and spectrum, because that is the only way that they can do it. They cannot expect the regulator to give them more spectrum.
Yeah, and then if you think about it, right, if you combine both Celcom and DG, after the merger, they're going to have more than 200 megahertz of spectrum. So that means they have no excuse in terms of spectrum. They have more than enough. I mean, they have the biggest chunk. Even the closest competitor, Maxis, only has 115 megahertz spectrum.
Yeah. So, we had a discussion before the show started. So I think the buzzword was, when you had that discussion with MCMC, was they wanted to balance the
harmonize.
Telco.
Yeah.
Okay, so the word is harmonize. So they want to harmonize the telco industry by allocating spectrum to telcos that need it. I think that's a total load of bull, because I don't think Altel needs any more spectrum. I think Unify Mobile needs more than Altel. I think yes, 4G needs more than Altel. Uh, and if they really want to harmonize, they should just say, okay, Altel, you can please shut down your business, or instead of putting out a proposal to MCMC, MCMC should tell Altel, okay, Altel, you know what? Because you're struggling or you can't raise funds or for whatever reason that you're not utilizing the spectrum that we've already allocated to you, go and knock on the doors of other telcos. Go and knock on Go and knock on Unify or Yes or Maxis and ask them to marry you, so that you can work together better.
Yeah, and we've done this before in the late 90s. Because remember in the late 90s, like every single number is like 011, 012. There's a new telco for every single number.
Yes.
We have Adam, we have MRTel, become TM Touch, and then with all these kind of Mobicom as well, 018. Eventually, a lot of them merged. So I think at the end, there'll be like 3 players back then.
Yep.
Yeah. So that actually improves the situation because you have better efficiencies, you have better efficient spectrum to roll out the network.
Yep.
So that is possible as well.
Yeah. So I guess that's pretty much it on my side. Is there anything else you want to add, Alex?
I think the focus right now is not the number of telcos. It's how to ensure that the telcos with the spectrum are using it effectively and whether they can deliver good service.
Yep.
And I think one thing we forgot to mention is that the government should regulate, especially MCMC, should regulate the way telcos advertise their plans. Because I think we've mentioned in the previous episodes that there's a lot of telcos offering misleading plans out there.
Yep.
Like, for example, you say unlimited, but it's not really unlimited because you get throttled after certain speeds, certain data quotas, and there's also some misleading claims out there, like saying there's unlimited, but actually you only get 100 gigabytes. Or when you promise that you can get 80 gigabytes in a month, but there's a lot of hidden terms condition that extra 60 gigs, you only can claim it like once a day or once an hour. That's a lot of bullcrap. I mean, and the worst part is that a lot of consumers got locked into the contract without knowing all these pitfalls.
Yes. And I think that is the failure of the regulator themselves. I think previously, or at least in my perception, right, the previous administration under Gobind Singh was strict. I think he
put his foot down.
I think he really wanted to improve the telecommunication industry in the country genuinely. I mean, I can't see any faults other than maybe he was picking on telecom too much. So at that time when that happened, I thought it was like he had like another reason for doing that, and that's like giving favor to maybe Maxis or other competitor. I mean, that was my theory. I couldn't prove it. Then, the administration changed, and we see now MCMC is talking more. I mean, we see now MCMC is communicating more with statements and releases and stuff like that. But I see it as much ado over nothing. Like, they're doing all these things, but they're not really making a difference. They're not fixing, like you said, plans that are confusing. They're not telling telcos to stop using the word unlimited. If it's not in actual fact unlimited, they're not telling telcos, okay, this is how you should market your plans.
Even TNCs as well. Like, now telcos, it seems that they are the free hand in charging whatever penalties they want if a customer cancel the contract early.
Yeah, like termination penalties. They should set like a ceiling. So if I recall back then, there was like a ceiling to the contract period. You cannot have a customer locked in for more than 24 months. Now you see telco plans
36 months.
Yeah, slowly creeping in and introducing longer and longer contract terms. What's going on? I guess the answer is right now, do we need more telcos? We don't. What do we need? We need regulators to do their job.
And more enforcement.
Yeah. Basically, that's doing their job.
Yep.
Okay, that's pretty much it. So that's my cue to remind everybody we're also available on podcast. So if you're traveling or just sitting at home not feeling like watching YouTube or whatever, just search for us on any of your favorite podcast platforms, and we're there. Just look for Searching Chow Let's Talk About and have a listen. Do give us a 5-star rating if you like the show, because that helps the show spread to more people. The algorithm gods will tell Spotify to share our show to more and more listeners in the podcast land. If you're watching us on YouTube, thanks very much for watching. Again, your comments, suggestions, we love that. So put them in the comment section below. We want to know what you think. Are there too many telcos in Malaysia? Is MTMC doing a good job? Are we doing a good job? Let us know. Please do give us a thumbs up if you like the show. Do subscribe to us if you haven't already. And thanks for watching, guys. That's pretty much it. This is me, Amin.
And this Alex.
And catch you guys later.
Bye.